A small frantic twist, a desperate limb kicking in the air, and the sound, faint, high-pitched, terrified. It cut through the rain like a shard of glass. A young raccoon, its body soaked and shivering, trapped by one leg in the wires, struggling for every breath. Sarah slammed the Jeep into park and bolted out, rain soaking her coat instantly. She felt the sting of cold raindrops on her face, but ignored it, her eyes locked on the tiny creature. "Someone help it!" a man's voice called from across the street, but he stayed hidden under his umbrella. "It's dangerous, don't go near it!" shouted another neighbor, gesturing from a doorway. Sarah didn't flinch. The raccoon's squeaks grew more desperate with each second, and she knew that if she hesitated, it might not survive. She reached into the back of her Jeep and pulled out her tool bag, a rugged canvas pack, worn from years in the field, every zipper and compartment meticulously organized. Inside, gloves, a collapsible harness, a lightweight net, first aid supplies, and a few compact rescue tools she had designed herself. The neighbors began to gather, some clutching umbrellas, others just standing at a safe distance, their faces a mixture of awe, fear, and skepticism. "You're not seriously going to climb that, are you?" a teenager snickered, balancing on the edge of the curb. "I have to," Sarah said firmly, her voice carrying over the storm. "It's going to die if I don't." The crowd hesitated, murmuring among themselves, debating whether to step closer or run. The rain soaked through to the bone, and the wind tugged at loose clothing and umbrellas. The raccoon kicked violently, claws scraping the wires, tiny squeaks of terror echoing down the street. Sarah scanned the pole and surrounding area, taking in every detail. The wires were not high voltage, but the height was significant for a creature so small and fragile. A single slip could snap the limb, or send the raccoon crashing onto the asphalt below. The branch she intended to use as leverage was slick with rain, the wind threatening to sway it at any moment. She had to move fast, but with absolute precision. "Step back," she commanded to the growing crowd. "Give me space. Now." A few moved reluctantly, others only a few feet. The rest whispered, casting worried glances at one another. "I don't think she can do it," someone muttered from behind a door. Sarah ignored them, focusing on the raccoon. Its eyes were wide, wet, and terrified, limbs thrashing frantically. She took a deep breath, gloves snapping over her hands, harness and net ready. "Almost there, little one," she whispered, crouching beneath the wires, calculating every movement. A local utility worker emerged from the rain, vest gleaming, hands in pockets. "You can't go up there." "That's insane, Hards," he called, but did not approach. "I don't have a choice," Sarah replied. "Either I act or it dies." She glanced at her bag, selecting the lightweight harness. Her fingers moved swiftly, securing it to a low-hanging branch nearby, testing the tension. The raccoon's frantic movements made the harness sway, and she adjusted her position to compensate. The storm seemed to intensify, wind slashing sideways, raindrops stinging her face. Thunder rolled overhead, masking the soft cries of the raccoon. Every second felt stretched into eternity. Sarah's mind raced. She had seen this before in countless field rescues. The calculations were instant: weight, swing, grip, balance. Years of experience in emergency animal recovery had trained her instincts to act precisely in moments like this. From the crowd, the teenager shouted again. "It's going to fall. You'll get hurt too." Sarah glanced briefly, a steely calm in her eyes. "Not if I do this right," she muttered. She turned her attention back to the raccoon, adjusting her grip on the wire, aligning the harness beneath the creature. Her fingers, gloved and steady, reached for the raccoon's tiny body. The limb trapped in the wire thrashed, claws scraping dangerously. She took a slow, deep breath and whispered words of reassurance. "I've got you. Almost there. Just stay calm." The rain now poured harder, water running in rivulets down her face and gloves, making every surface slippery. The crowd collectively held their breath, the tension in the street thick and heavy. Every flinch, Every squeak from the raccoon seemed magnified, each second fraught with peril. A soft sobbing came from a young girl near the edge of the crowd. "Is it going to be okay?" Sarah's eyes flicked toward her, then back to the raccoon. "Yes, if I move carefully. Don't worry. We'll get it down safely." Another neighbor called out, skepticism and fear tinged in his voice. "This is crazy. You're not a professional." Sarah didn't answer. Professionals weren't here. She was the only one ready to act, to save a life no one else dared touch. She adjusted the harness once more, testing the tension, calculating the swing, and whispered softly to the raccoon, "Almost safe. Just a little longer." The raccoon's cries grew weaker but more frantic, exhaustion starting to take hold. Sarah's muscles burned, her focus absolute. Every movement, every calculation mattered. She inched closer, the harness now positioned just below the trapped limb. The crowd leaned forward slightly, tension rippling through the watchers. Some eyes glistened with unshed tears, others wide with disbelief. And then she felt it, a subtle give in the wire. One wrong move, and the raccoon could plummet. She froze for a heartbeat, adjusted, whispered again, and reached for the creature. The tiny eyes met hers, terrified and pleading. Its body shivered violently. "Almost. Hold on," she whispered. Her gloved hands moved with precision honed over countless residue. She inched her fingers beneath the raccoon, timing her lift with the sway of the branch and the thrashing of the tiny limbs. The crowd was silent now, the storm masking even the faintest whimpers from those watching. Every breath, every motion, was synchronized with the frantic rhythm of survival. Sarah lifted slightly, adjusting the harness to catch the raccoon fully. Her heart hammered, every nerve focused. The wires groaned under tension. The raccoon's claws scraped the metal, as if aware of every second ticking toward potential disaster. She whispered again, encouragement soft but firm. "Almost there. Almost safe." The storm roared louder. Rain blurred vision. The raccoon's whimpers became soft squeaks of exhaustion. Sarah's movements were deliberate, precise, calculated. The crowd collectively leaned forward, breath held. Every second stretched, every flinch felt monumental. The raccoon's tiny body twisted in terror, and Sarah's gloved hands mirrored that desperation, steadying, lifting, coaxing. And then the harness caught fully. The raccoon's body dangled safely in the net, supported securely by the branch. Sarah paused for a heartbeat, letting the tension drain slightly, her chest heaving, rain washing over her face. From below, the neighbors murmured in disbelief. Some stepped back, others whispered to themselves. The storm's roar seemed to lessen slightly, as if the world exhaled. Sarah tightened her grip on the net, preparing to lower it gently to the ground. Her eyes never left the raccoon, reading every movement, anticipating every struggle. A sudden crack of thunder made the raccoon flinch. The crowd gasped, but Sarah's voice cut through the chaos, calm, commanding. "Stay with me. Almost there." The raccoon's squeak slowed, exhaustion overtaking fear slightly. She inched the net down, branch creaking under tension, until finally the small creature was within reach of solid ground. The neighbors' disbelief turned into awe. Murmurs of admiration spread, tinged with fear of what could have gone wrong. But Sarah didn't smile yet. The raccoon was almost safe. Almost. The storm raged on. The wet streets reflected the grey sky. The crowd watched silently, knowing they were witnessing something few had the courage to attempt. Sarah adjusted the net one final time, preparing for the delicate descent. Every inch mattered. Every second mattered. The raccoon, twitched nervously in the harness, tiny claws clutching at the net. And that's when the world seemed to pause, rain still pouring, wind still cutting, the crowd holding their collective breath, waiting for the final move that would decide life or death. With a final deliberate adjustment, Sarah eased the harness down toward the wet asphalt. Her gloves gripped the net securely, her body tense but controlled. The raccoon's tiny frame shivered violently, eyes wide, tail curling in panic. She whispered softly, words of reassurance flowing over the sound of the storm. "Almost there. You're safe. Just a little longer." The crowd leaned closer, the fear in their eyes now mingled with awe. Some murmured to each other, hesitant praise in their voices. She's actually going to do it," a woman whispered, clutching her child's hand. Suddenly, the branch supporting the net swayed under the wind's assault. Sarah froze, calculating the weight, the angle, the sway. One wrong movement could send the raccoon tumbling to the ground. Her jaw tightened, eyes scanning the ropes and wires. Every instinct sharpened. Years of animal rescue missions, countless tight calls, honed her reflexes in an instant. "Stay calm. Just a few more inches," she whispered again, coaxing the animal with soft, steady tones. The raccoon's whimpers softened slightly, exhaustion slowing its frantic movements. Sarah adjusted her feet, leaning her weight carefully, guiding the harness with precision. From the crowd, the teenager who had mocked her earlier shouted, "Don't drop it!" His voice cracked under the tension. Sarah didn't glance at him. Every ounce of focus was on the tiny life dangling inches from certain injury, or worse. Then came a sharp snap. A frayed section of wire groaned under pressure. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The raccoon flinched violently. Sarah's heartbeat thundered in her ears. "I've got you. Just a little longer," she said, muscles coiled, ready to correct any sudden shift. With a controlled motion, she shifted the net slightly, relieving tension on the weakened wire. The harness settled more securely, and the raccoon's body trembled in relief. Slowly, inch by careful inch, she lowered the net to the wet asphalt. Her gloves brushed the pavement first, then the raccoon's tiny body landed gently, paws scrabbling at the wet ground but free. A collective sigh erupted from the onlookers. Some clapped softly, others stared, mouths open in disbelief. The storm raged around them, rain soaking every witness, but in that moment, the world seemed to pause. Life had been saved, against impossible odds. Sarah crouched beside the raccoon, lifting it into her arms. Its tiny chest heaved with rapid breaths. She murmured soothing words, stroking its soaked fur, feeling the tremors of fear fade into exhaustion. Her own body ached from tension, but adrenaline kept her steady. From the street, a local wildlife officer finally arrived, soaked to the bone, eyes wide. "Is it alive?" he asked, incredulous. "Yes," Sarah said, voice calm but firm. "It is, and it will be okay now." She handed the raccoon to him carefully, demonstrating exact techniques for safe transfer and care. The officer nodded, respect evident in his eyes. "That was incredible. You saved its life." The crowd dispersed slowly, many shaking heads in admiration, some offering murmured apologies for doubt, others simply staring at Sarah with newfound awe. Sarah stood in the pouring rain, watching the raccoon being secured into a temporary recovery box, the storm no longer seeming like an enemy, but a witness to courage and precision. Her chest heaved, not with relief, but with quiet satisfaction. She hadn't done it for recognition. She hadn't done it for applause. She did it because it was right. A small child approached, eyes wide, holding a stuffed animal. "I want to help animals like you one day," she said softly. Sarah knelt, smiling faintly. "You can. Every small action matters. Every life matters." The officer clapped a hand on her shoulder quietly. "We'll take it from here. You did everything perfectly. Thank you." Sarah nodded, letting herself finally relax. She glanced up at the wires where the raccoon had been trapped, rain washing over the wet street, reflecting the grey sky. Every life was fragile, every decision mattered. And sometimes, courage wasn't about strength. It was about heart. As she returned to her jeep, dripping, soaked, and tired, she heard a soft rustle from the recovery box. The raccoon squeaked faintly, as if acknowledging the hand that had saved it. Sarah smiled. For every skeptic, every danger, every second counted. But so did compassion. The storm continued to rage, but in the alleyway of Greystone, under the grey and relentless sky, a small life had been saved. And in that moment, hope had been restored. Because sometimes, seeing the danger wasn't enough. Acting, even in the face of fear, was what truly changed everything. And for Sarah, for the raccoon, for every life hanging in the balance, that was enough. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting for those who cannot act for themselves. Compassion, precision, and resolve can turn seconds into life-saving miracles.